Hey everyone. So I wanted to give you just a quick too long didn't read version of my article in case you just want to get a rundown of it. So the article is about Flicksee, and that's an app I built to basically discover some new movies. That's what the first part of this article is about, just explaining what it is. So you open up Flicksee, you start scrolling through it, and it's just movie after movie after movie. And what's kind of neat about this is that most streaming platforms will highly prioritize new releases, things that they want to push on you that they think you should watch. And this one doesn't do that. It just lets you watch, or not really watch, but it shows you whatever movie options are available in a completely random order. And so that's what it is. And so the first thing I had to do when building this was to decide where I'm going to get all this data from. I don't just happen to have a big old file with every movie listed in it, so I had to decide among the available options. So three bigger options are IMDb, so that's the main one you would usually think of or use otherwise, and then there's TMDB, and then OMDB. So I got rid of IMDb as an option right away because it basically isn't very friendly to smaller developers. To even try to use the API, you have to contact them first. They have a certain business model that I think is not going to be compatible with a lot of developers, so I just said, that's not really an option. And then there was TMDB, which they seem very promising, but they don't really have all their ducks in a row. They can't really agree even internally, like, are they a free service? Do you have to pay for them? If you look on their official documents, it says, you might have to pay for contact sales. And then if you look on, say, forums where they're actually responding to people, they're saying, hey, we haven't charged anyone in 10 years, so go ahead and don't worry about it. So they're very kind of giving conflicting answers there. Another nuance of their terms of use is that you can't store or cache any of the data locally for more than 6 months, and that was something that I really need for my app. I want to store all of the data on the app itself, not making any calls to APIs, because if those APIs go down at some point, my app goes down, and I didn't want that to happen. So I basically excluded TMDB based on those reasons. And then OMDB, it seems great. It's free, it's volunteer driven, and the only real downside of it is that the data is kind of dodgy. So that was the thing that I spent a lot of time doing, is cleaning up that data. So just to give you an idea of what was going on there, the images are very small, they're overly compressed, sometimes the data is missing, sometimes people just write junk in the data, so you can't really trust all of it. And then there were some XML encoding issues, foreign languages when you're just wanting English data, and some movies that people are not really ever going to want to watch, like some random person's home movies, stuff like that. So this kind of dives into just what I did to get around all those issues. So an example is I filtered to get rid of the most dodgy looking data. So if a movie's under 50 minutes long, it's probably not like your standard movie theater release type of movie. So I just got rid of all those. And then I got rid of any sort of adult themed movies. One extra nuance around that is that some of the like R-rated and so on movies did have movie posters that had some nudity or some excessive gore, and that might be something that one of the app stores wouldn't take too kindly to seeing. And so I actually reviewed every single image, and there were tens of thousands of them, just to filter out any of that sort of stuff. So laborious, but one of those things you kind of have to do. And then in order to address the images, the image quality, and the absence of images, because there were, I would say, around 17,000 images present of the 30,000 or so movies, so a lot of them are just not there. One of the approaches I took was to generate placeholder images based on the genre. So like in this case, you can see this genre is drama, and so I have an image placeholder in the background there specific to drama, and then there's also an image that's specific to any image which doesn't have a genre attached to it. And then I toss the movie title and one of the actors on top of that as well, just kind of make it look a little nicer. And then on top of that, I also used some AI tools to improve the resolution of the images and other quality aspects of it. So I looked into a few of them, and the best one I could find was this one called Gigapixel from Topaz Labs. And it actually is very surprising how well it upscales images. So it's not just your standard algorithmic upscale in terms of, you got these pixels and now you've got some more and you got to fill in the blanks. It's actually filling in details and covering up flaws. So you can see an example here. I had this image on the left, and I resized it with gigapixel on the right, and the fast bender is amazing here. It looks vastly better in the new version. The edges of the text are very crisp and clear, and then the faces, some of them look better than others, but this woman on the bottom right, she actually looks very close to the original movie poster, and just, you know, very clear. You know, these details aren't really present in the original poster, the really downsampled version. So this tool is actually just injecting new details, and it makes the images look really great. Yeah, it's not perfect. In the background, there's just a bunch of made-up details, and this tiny text up here looks weird. But if you just are scrolling through the app and you see this image, it's going to be pretty pleasant to look at. I think that's a vast improvement on what I had otherwise. And then another thing to mention, just kind of a disclaimer section. I'm not a lawyer. I did my best to interpret the laws, but there's still some gray area. So if you're going to do something like this, build an app like this, use this data in a similar way, definitely consult a legal expert, or, you know, make sure you have some means of addressing that. In my case, I have a few kind of escape hatches. I can make the app free, I can remove images, things of that sort. So just make sure you cover all your bases with the legal aspects. And then, you know, there's a few things I could do as next steps for Flicksee. I don't know that I will. It kind of depends on how much free time I have, how much I want to dedicate towards it. But you know, there's some quirks, like if you switch from portrait to landscape, you lose your spot when you scroll. That's a thing I would love to address. And then there's a few other things in here, not too important, but yeah, could definitely use some additional improvement. And I was even thinking of incorporating the TMDB data, even though I mentioned I went with OMDB. What I could do is combine the both of them. That way, if TMDB decides, oh, we don't like that you're using our data, I can just get rid of it, and then I have a fallback in that case. So if time permits, that's something I would definitely like to do. I think that would improve a lot of the quality of the data. Anyways, that's the article. Thanks.